Welcome aboard the Boat Buyers Secret Weapon podcast, where we're dedicated to helping first-time and experienced boat buyers find the right boat at the best price so they have years and years of boating fun, because life truly is better on a boat. Today's podcast is sponsored by the Boat Buyers Secret Weapon YouTube channel. Don't pay too much for your next boat. Just visit boatbuyerssecretweapon.com/save to watch a short video. Now, let's hop aboard and have some fun.
Welcome to the Boat Buyers Secret Weapon series. I am your host, Captain Matt, and today we're talking about the problems with new boats. And the first and obvious, the number one problem with new boats is the depreciation. We all know as soon as you take that boat off the lot, head out for your first cruise, sign the paperwork, that boat plummets in value. And typically, based on research, it's going to depend on the boat, the brand, what you paid for the boat, the time of the year, the deal that you got on it. But you're typically going to see about a 20% drop in that first year. From that first year, it's going to level out just a little bit. You're not going to see quite that same reduction until you hit that 5-year mark. You can see the blue line. It's starting to flatten out a little bit more over the next 5 years, and then flatten out even more from 10 to 15 years. Even at a 15-year-old boat, you're just under probably about a 50% value in the boat that you bought. Now, if you look at that same curve, but you move it up 5 years and you buy a 5-year-old boat, you see that curve, it lessens quite a bit. So in the first 5 years, you're only going to lose, about 10%, maybe 15% of the value or so. And here's how you need to think about it. In the first year, that big depreciation hits, because who's going to want to pay just a small amount less for a boat that has a year's worth of ownership, a year's less of warranty on it? Who knows how it was maintained, versus I can buy a brand new one. Now you got to remember, if you're buying a $100,000 boat, an extra 10 grand isn't a significant amount to get brand new. Well, I'll just go ahead and I would rather just get brand new, get exactly what I want. It's not going to have any nicks and dings. I'll have full warranty on it. And that's how the buyers think on the new side. And as you hit that mark of about 5 years, okay, now there's a significant enough savings that it's going to be more open to more people, and a larger group of people are able to buy that boat. Now it fits into their budget, and that curve flattens out significantly, because the useful life for a boat that's well maintained is well over 30 years. 40 years is nothing to have a boat continue to run if it's well maintained. And that's why it really flattens out as you hit that 10-year mark, because until somebody doesn't maintain it, until somebody doesn't take care of it properly, or they have a catastrophic event, that value is going to be there. So that's the number one. Obviously, you knew that was coming. Number two is it has to do with how boats are built. Now, I'm going to take a little tangent here as I explain why this difference is going to be. So stick with me. Boats and cars, it's something that people see. Boats and cars, they're very similar. They're mass-produced, kind of, sort of, produced in the same way. It's very similar. Well, here's what you need to know is if you were to walk into an automobile manufacturing plant, you would see what's on the right. You would see robotics. You would see things going down in systems, and the workers are working the machines, versus if you go into a boat manufacturing plant from the most technologically advanced, like maybe a Brunswick Corporation brand, Sea Ray, Whaler, you're going to see some robotics. Okay, the robots may be spraying the gel coat, they may be cutting transom holes at Sea Ray, and then that's about it. You're not going to see many more robotics than them. After that, the employees are going to be working on the boats. And yes, they're going to have tools, but they're going to be doing the works themselves. It's manual work. They may have jigs. They may have templates that they're working from, but they're doing the work. It's not automated. Here is why. This is the biggest thing I think surprises boaters is the numbers. This is 2019. In 2019, there were 280,000 new boats sold. Okay, so then actually this was produced. So the number in 2020 was about 300,000, compared to light cars and trucks, 16.7 million. So 50 times, over 50 times more cars and trucks were produced in a year than boats were made. Because of that, they can't have as much automation. On the used side, just under a million boats, used boats, compared to 40 million on the used side of light cars and trucks. So again, just over 40 times more are sold. And this is where it gets really interesting. On the boat side, you've got over 100 manufacturers. On the light car and truck side, I was able to come up with about 30 that sell in the US. So you've got a 16 million unit industry with 30 manufacturers compared to a 300,000 unit industry with over 100 manufacturers. Now, yes, the big guys are producing the most boats, but they're still small numbers. Now, look at this. This is even more interesting. When you break it down, pontoons, center consoles, bow riders, and deck boats, look at the number sold. Again, these are 2019 numbers. 55,000 pontoons sold by 37 different manufacturers. That's just over 1,000 per manufacturer. Now, we know Bennington is by far the biggest, and they produced a good portion. But if you look at their market share numbers, Harris, Crest, Premier, Sun Tracker, all of those brands aren't too far behind, and the top, probably 10 make up 90% of that market. I haven't really dug into those numbers, but you see where I'm going. They're still not building significant numbers of boats. The center consoles, it gets even crazier. Over almost 60,000 units sold by almost 60 manufacturers, because in the center console world, you have the regional impact. So the flats boat that you want to run down in Texas is different than the boat that you're going to run on the West Coast or off the Carolina coast or down in Florida or up in the Northeast. They all have their regional slant to them. And so there's all these smaller manufacturers that play on a regional level in that center console world, because the boating style, the boating world is just different. In the bow riders, under 10,000 units sold, but 44 manufacturers. Aluminum fishing boats, under 50,000 sold, 36. Wake boats, just under 11,000 units sold with 10 manufacturers. If you were to ask a wakeboarder or a wake surfer, they would think that number is 10 times that, because in their world, it just seems so big. But less than 11,000 wake boats were sold. So Nautique, Mastercraft, Malibu, Moomba, Supra, Heyday, all of them. There's just not that many. Cruisers, only 2,000 cruisers sold. So 24 to, I think I cut it at 40 or 40 foot. I didn't get into the yachts, but with 22 manufacturers that produce cruisers, it's really crazy. Now, this is the oddball, personal watercraft. 72,000 personal watercraft with only 3 manufacturers, right? You've got Yamaha and BRP with the Wave Runner, are your two big ones that are by far the leaders. Jet boats, under 6,000 jet boats were produced in 2019. Electric boats barely making a blip, houseboats barely making a blip, sailboats barely making a blip, but still 1,400 sailboats in 8 manufacturers. It is very, very segmented. So all of that automation that you see in the auto industry, it's just not economically feasible to invest that, because you're not building enough units. Now, take this into consideration. You buy a Honda Accord, 6 models. You go in, do you want the LX, the Sport SE, the EXL, the Sport 2.0, or the Touring? That's your choices. Then pick the color. Those are the options you get. In 2020, they built 200,000 Honda Accords. 2019, the number was at 267,000. So there were almost the same number of Honda Accords built as there were boats. And there's 6 options. And then you have the color option on top of that. In boats, I picked the Sea Ray 205 Sport because there was a time when this was the largest production run of a boat. From my understanding, was the Sea Ray 205 Sport for a number of years, and they produced just under 2,000. Now, look at the options when you go to buy a Sea Ray 205 Sport. Now I picked the SPX, their replacement for this. Tower and canvas, all of these options. Electronics, all of these options. Additional options, battery switches, and all that. And then you've got the trailer options, and then you have the color options. So when they're building their boats, they have to be handmade because they're almost semi-custom, because a consumer can order them however they want, and it's not like the auto industry where they're building 300,000 Honda Accords and you get to choose one of the 6 models and then they spray it a certain color. In the boating business, they have to pick the color first, the way a boat's made, so they have to lay that gel coat color first, and they build the car out from the outside in almost, when you think about it. And then they have to say, oh, this one's got a tower, this one's getting this seating configuration. The Sea Ray 205, or the 210 SPX, which replaced the 205, has 2 seating options. So not only do they have to, what color are we going to build the boat? They can't start until they know that. Then they have to adjust. Maybe it's this seating option, maybe it's that, and they're only producing 1,000, and I doubt they're building 2,000 of those 210 SPXs these days. It's a different world, and it leads to a problem in the boating, a new boat that we're going to get to. Another component to it is there's a shortage of skilled labor. So instead of using robots like they do in the auto industry, now it's people running actual tools, drills, and cutting out holes, and sewing fabric, and your actual individual. So now instead of having a computer operator and the computer does the work, now you have to have a tradesperson that's doing the work, whether you're laying up the gel coat, whether you're sewing the upholstery, whether you're putting on the hardware. You have to be a tradesperson. And as we all know, I love Mike Rowe, the Dirty Jobs guy, with his Mike Rowe Works, which is all about getting more tradespeople into the business, mechanics and woodworkers and blue-collar jobs. There's 322 boat manufacturing jobs available right now as of, I'm recording this on May 11th, 2021. There's over 300 jobs for boat manufacturing, and they're all production jobs. And this is just on ZipRecruiter. So this is just on one of them. So you've got all of that adding up, and that leads to what we're getting to. We're still not there yet, but now you produce the boat. Remember, very segmented, option oriented. They can choose whatever options they want and put it on the boat. So not many of them are exactly the same. Have to have tradespeople. There's a shortage of tradespeople. Now, once the boat's built, it's loaded up on a truck and shipped across the country from Knoxville, Tennessee, or maybe Florida, if it's a pontoon, somewhere in Indiana, somewhere in the Midwest, and it's shipped all across the country. And it's just loaded on a flatbed truck, and it's got to go 500, 1,000, 2,000 miles, and things can get damaged at transport. But we're not done yet. Once it's completed and it's made its journey and it ends up at the dealer, somebody has to unload that boat. Now, if you've ever been to a dealership when they're unloading a boat, almost every time the owner is out there watching, because you've got $100,000, $200,000, $500,000 of product on this boat that you're lifting off the truck with either their hoist, a smaller dealer may have to rent a crane and unload the boats with a crane. They've got their forklifts out, they've got their hoists, depending on what their situation is, and there's guys that are unloading it. Now, things happen. Forklift dents the pontoon. Something drops and scratches the gel coat. All of those things can happen on a new boat. But wait, we're still not done yet, because when the boat arrives at the dealer, it's not 100% put together. May or may not have the motor in if it's an outboard. It certainly doesn't have the bimini top up. If you see how they stack them on those trucks, they've got to have the bimini down. There can't be really anything. If it's got a wakeboard tower, they can only fit maybe 2 or 3 on that truck, and they have to stack them in different ways. So anything that they can do to squeeze one extra boat on the truck, they have to do, because this is already costing them, let's say, $8,000 to ship it 1,000 miles. So if they can get one more boat on that truck, that's going to save them and allow to keep their transportation costs down. Now they may have had some issues there. When it gets to the dealership, now the dealer has to finish rigging the boat, putting the boat together. That includes maybe hanging the outboard. It certainly includes putting oil and fuel and batteries in, putting the bimini top up, probably putting some of the components together of the boat, making sure all the wiring is there, and hooked up properly when they're hooking the battery up. And now that boat still has never been on the water, because most manufacturers aren't going to lake test or water test their boats before they ship them out. They may put it in a tank. They may run it through a hurricane type test if it's a cruiser, to spray water on it, make sure no water's getting in somewhere. But the dealer is actually responsible for the last 2 to 5% of the completion of that boat. Now, something that you may not know that's a problem with new boats is every new boat that comes into a dealership has flaws. There's something that's not right, whether it's a gel coat nick, whether it is a component that wasn't completely put together properly, a loose wire, a loose screw, a seat that's broken, a rip in the upholstery. Remember, they're handmade at the factory by craftsmen, men and women, and craftsmen and women make mistakes, especially when it's not a 100% repetitive task. Remember, all those options. Oh, did this boat have this option or that option? There was a time when a pontoon manufacturer had poor lighting in their facility, and they were putting the wrong color seats in the boat. So you would get a boat, and the dealer would unwrap it, and the upholstery wouldn't match. And you say, how could they possibly do this? Well, with their yellow sodium lights in their facility, they couldn't tell the difference between the dark and the light color. They would get shipped out, and they're off and running. So all of those issues lead to me telling you a problem with the new boat is you have to be very diligent to make sure your new boat is exactly as you want it. It's not like a Honda Accord where they built 1,000 that day, and they go through a QC process, and the LXs are on one line, the LEs are another, the Sports on another, and really the only difference there is the engine. No, all of these things can change in the boating world. And then if it's a good dealer, the dealer should put that boat on the water, at least in a tank of some sort, and run it to make sure that they've got the motor going good. Do a little, what in the industry they call a shakedown test, or the shakedown period, where you're hitting some waves, you're running all the systems, you're turning on all the switches, you're opening all the compartments, and you're seeing, can we find the 3 to 5 to 10 things that are wrong with this boat before we deliver it to the customer? Okay. It's why the dealer is so important. And I tell people in some of my other videos is, at a certain point, the dealer is more important than the manufacturer. Now, I'm not saying Bayliner versus Cobalt, the difference is the dealer, but I'm saying Sea Ray Chaparral Cobalt, the difference could be the dealer as to which one I would recommend, because a good Sea Ray dealer is going to have a better experience and deliver you a better boat than a poor Cobalt dealer or a poor Chaparral dealer. A good Chaparral or Cobalt dealer is going to deliver a better experience than a poor Sea Ray dealer. And every manufacturer has good, better, and best in their dealer network, and some of them, unfortunately, are poor. So these are all problems that come out with a new boat. You go in thinking, oh, I'm ordering a new boat or I'm buying a new boat. It's going to be perfect, just like my Mercedes, just like my BMW, just like my F-150. Not the case. Now, another problem with new boats is, hey, it said 10-year bow to stern warranty. These are just a couple of warranties. Most pontoon manufacturers have followed Bennington's suit and gone with a 10-year bow to stern warranty. Now, here's the problem. If you don't read the fine print, you don't realize that that does not include the motor. Some of them have some, what I like to call, weasel clauses in the fine print that something you would assume would be covered under the warranty is not. I actually interviewed in the U.S. Boat Expo, I interviewed Karen Roberts, who was a 40 years in the industry, started out in manufacturing, moved into the dealer level, and she was the warranty administrator and service writer at a large dealership in the Southeast. And she told me that the warranty, it's all about how you position it to the manufacturer and the relationship that that dealer and even that warranty person has with the manufacturer, and do they present things in the right way. So I said the dealer is important. That individual at the dealership level is more important almost than the written warranty, because manufacturers, yes, they want to stand behind their product, but they also are going to deny claims that should be covered under the warranty because it's a cost-saving measure in some cases. Some manufacturers are better than others about how much do we want to have good customer service and a good reputation versus how much do we want to save by declining warranties. Some manufacturers will pay full shop rate to do a warranty issue. Some manufacturers will pay a smaller shop rate. And as Karen talked about in that US Boat Expo interview, which you can get a free 7-day pass at usboatexpo.com, she said that warranty rate is determined based on the dealer's customer service score. So if you have a lower than perfect customer service score, you may not get paid your full shop rate for warranty work. And what she said happens is some dealers will just say, no, that warranty claim got declined, because they know they'll make more money by having the customer pay for that warranty issue, that what should have been covered by the warranty, if they charge the customer directly versus turning it in as a warranty claim. Okay. So these are things that you need to, before you just jump in and say, oh, I've got a 10-year bow to stern warranty, I'm covered. No, go talk to the service department, find out what their experience is. And remember, that person's not a salesperson, so they're going to be a little bit more honest with you, give you a real world perspective. And remember, that 10-year warranty does not cover the motor. The outboards typically have a 3-year warranty, and they'll try to sell you an additional 2, or maybe give it to you free for certain promotions. The stern drives typically have a 2-year warranty, and they'll try to sell you a 3 additional years to get 5-year coverage for an additional charge. So all of that is kind of all wrapped up in how the boating industry is different than the auto industry and what you may expect, and problems that I hear over and over and over from consumers that bought a brand new boat and they're shocked about how this is handled. The other thing that can be a problem is if you buy your boat from a certain dealership that is, hey, I saved $5,000 by buying it 500 miles away or 200 miles away or 50 miles away, but the dealership that's closest to me that I want to take it to do warranty work, they don't do it. They're not excited, and they say, we can't fit you in. We can't get you in until October, or we're not going to do that at all for you. If you are going to buy your boat from out of your market area, don't expect your warranty work, your service work to be an enjoyable experience. In most cases, it's going to be a nightmare. And that's why I tell people that dealership on the new boat side is incredibly important, because the dealer can be a problem as well. If you buy from a poor dealer that's not service focused, that's understaffed, that doesn't have quality people, you can get yourself into a situation where you have this brand new $50,000, $100,000, $200,000 boat, and the experience that you have is just dismal. So
let's pull up the anchor and run this podcast back to the docks. We'll be back again with another helpful and fun episode next time. If you'd like to be a guest on the podcast, visit boatbuyersSecretWeapon.com/guest, and I'll help offer insights into your boat research and shopping experience. Also, we'd appreciate it if you took just 2 minutes to rate and review this podcast on Apple, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcast. It helps others find us so we can help more boaters. If you enjoyed this episode, please share it in your boating groups on social media. They will certainly thank you. And by the way, if you haven't already, grab your free Boat Buyers Secret Weapon Toolkit at boatbuyersSecretWeapon.com/toolkit. And so you don't pay too much for your next boat, visit boatbuyersSecretWeapon.com/save for a short video. Now, before we go, I want to leave you with a few first-time boating tips for when you own your new boat. Number 1, know your local boating laws, basic navigation rules, and how to operate your boat safely. It'll make boating even more fun for everyone. 2, be aware of your wake at all times and pay attention to no wake zones, because you are responsible for your wake. When maneuvering at slow speeds, you can put out an enormous wake. If going slow, be courteous, save some fuel, and drop down to idle speed, just in forward gear, to ensure there is no wake. This could save you an expensive ticket and will keep you from being that guy on your waterway. Number 3, boats do not have headlights. They have docking lights, specifically made for seeing in tight quarters and docking. Do not turn your docking lights on while cruising down the water. It can blind other boaters and is very dangerous, and again, could save you an expensive ticket. Number 4, follow the maintenance schedule for your boat. Change the oil, impeller, gear lube, winterize if you need to winterize in your area. Inspect your trailer tires, bearings, and grease the hubs if you're a trailer boater to ensure you don't experience expensive and unnecessary repairs that will impact your boating time. Number 5, always double check your plug is in, your battery is charged, and the fuel is full before heading out for a day on the water. It could just save your boating day. And if you're a trailer boater, I've got a few extra tips. Number 1, at the boat ramp, prepare your boat, your gear, and your guests in the staging area. Then, when you're ready, back down the ramp, unload the boat, head to the parking lot, and right back down to your boat to be fast and courteous to your fellow boaters, and don't tie up that ramp unnecessarily. Next, use transom tie-down straps when trailing your boat. Very bad things can happen if you don't, and they do happen. 3, check everything in the boat is secure before heading down the road. Seat cushions, gear, keys, towels, even tubes and lily pads can get blown out when pulling your boat down the highway or interstate. And most important, have fun. Enjoy your boat and get on the water as much as possible, because life truly is better on a boat. Until next time, this is your friend in boating, Captain Matt.